Yes guys, and welcome from me, this is Championship Manager 0102, the Game On Challenge, part 88. This is long overdue, to be honest with you, because I haven't done a proper update on this for so long. And we've obviously done, I've done quite a few live streams here and there. So, time to give you a bit of an update on where we're at with this epic of an ODB game. We are at the start of season 103, because it's fucking stupid, isn't it? Season 103, we're about to launch the season. We have just had the League Cup. The League Cup in Germany is just what I deem a friendly competition because I fucking hate it. So we're going to, as I've said this before, time and time again, we come across a lot of flaws as you go into the future of the ODB. It looks like it is the end of the road for the World Club Cup. That is finished. We are not going to see that again. As you can see, the last games on that were back in 01 2 years ago, and for whatever reason, just over 2 years ago, and for whatever reason, they stopped. The semi-finals never took place, and that's it now. That tournament's never going to resurrect itself, I don't think. But, you know what, again, that's not really a massive issue. Fuck it, stupid tournament. So, as you've probably gathered, we are still as is. I am still Dortmund. Matt is still Bayern Munich. The League Cup, the German Cup, the Champions League are always, well, not so much the League Cup, but it's always about what we're playing for. The main competition, I've always said this in any game, is the league. For Matt, he's going to have to wait again. He really is. In all fairness, he had a bit of a tough end to the season last campaign. I think everything started to go wrong. And I think his striker was just, scoring goals in comparison, but I think the rest of his defence let him down and shit. And I know that he was very close to sort of calling it a day at Bayern Munich. But what happens is we get to July and he starts bringing in players, and then you think, no, I've got to give it another year. I ain't gonna lie to you, right? It was frustrating. Don't let this disguise you, because me and Matt had a discussion. The goals are just really drying up, and Gary Johnson said that this does happen, and this is no secret, that the goals dry up in CM 0102, unless you're using an update with all sorts of patches and shit. And they hadn't really dried up in Germany, but they did dry up in England where you see it. However, we noticed this season they seem to have dried up, or last season they seem to have dried up quite rapidly, but in England there was goals galore. So we weren't, I was scraping victories here, there and everywhere. And it was really the big game between one another. You can see, you've already a little bit of spoiler alert here then. So Matt's season just went from bad to worse. He lost the cup final to me, and he was knocked out of the Champions League to me on away goals. But you can see from Matt's point of view, he had a draw with, he had a couple of draws in succession over here, which proved costly. He lost to me in the league. He drew with me in the Champions League, which the away goal being decisive. He drew in the league again. And then, I think he lost the title with 2 games to go. And in terms of me for the Champions League, as I said, it was a tough, don't underestimate it. But we held firm and we won the Champions League. In all fairness, I can't grumble. Well, I do grumble. We all grumble. I cannot grumble with how the season finished. We did the triple. I cannot grumble. We've still got the burger course that we can only offer 34 grand a week for whatever reason. That seems to have just fucking... I can deal with it. I genuinely can deal with the 34 grand because we've got rid of the contract protection shit. And oh, sorry, Matt. I'm on you. Sorry, apologies there, Matt. I can deal with it because I think because we got rid of the contract protection thing, I've got players on 10-year deals when I buy them. So what we'll do is, and obviously as you can see, I've still got players under a good contract. So what we'll do first then, let's go to Matt's transfers first. I think he's made his full allocation of 7. Okay, Gonzalo Virala from Roma. Looks absolutely solid. Where's his best position? Looking at his attributes, I would say DMC. I'm not sure what Matt's plans are, but I would say DMC. But he's got such a good variation. In all honesty, he could probably do a number a little bit further forward from Matt. I mean, Matt's formation, where he's got Edge, he ain't going to take Edge out, because I think Edge is Gascoigne, but he could technically play there, but I think it's going to be one or the other, isn't it? Bruno Pogman, well, if he, is a DMC, isn't he? He looks absolutely superb. He's let him down a bit in the League Cup, but so far this season, which we'll come to that in a second. But he looks a solid player. Will he break into the first team? I don't know. He's going to have a lot of competition now. Mosca, another MC. So he's really strengthened up the middle of the park. I didn't really pay too much attention before. But this MC here, Mosca, he's got the finishing ability to be a little bit more advanced. So, and as you can see in the opening League Cup games, he's done wonders. So hopefully he's got someone there for the future as well. Bossen, well, who the fuck is Bossen? Because there seems to be so many Dutch attacking midfield, forward, lefts. That is not Robin, because he's a centre. But I don't know if he's got plans to use him this season, but he looks solid, don't he? He looks absolutely solid. And of course, one of the biggest pluses of this player is he will not need to name him in his Champions League squad, because he'll be 19 in September. It'll be a freebie, so to speak. Ian Steele, is that the goalkeeper, isn't it? From goalkeeper, what we're talking about. The defender from Everton. Looks really solid, to be honest with you. The only thing I've got, I think, is a big doubt for Ian Steele is that his last 2 seasons for Everton, because I remember looking at him when Matt bought him, and he looks really solid. He hasn't been performing well in the last 2 seasons. I find with defenders, right, when they've got creativity, it's no good. And he's got finishing 17. I mean, he looks great, don't get me wrong. He looks really good. Marking, 18. He's got positioning and tackling. But he's got finishing 17, crossing 17, creativity. He's almost like he should be a DMC. That's the thing. It's almost like he should be a DMC. And that is my worry for him. But we'll see. We'll see how Matt plays it. Okay. The Brazilian, now again, I remember looking at him. I think Matt said he's got this guy, Conceição, for right back. And I think right back is definitely the right thing. He's definitely not a forward. Sorry, he's definitely not a centre back. And I think he's got the crossing ability, the pace, the acceleration. He's got a tackling element. Finishing element is great. So, and of course he's either foot. So he can play left back or right back. We'll see how he flares up. And his final signing was a very, very familiar man. You all know who that is. There can only be one DM, striker, centre, Welsh player on the ODB, of course. That is going to be Mark Hughes. Now, whether he'll start, I don't know. But he wanted... he's got that Syrian striker from last season, of course. So, we'll see. So, with regards... there you see... With regards this season, we won the League Cup. I call it League Cup. It's a fucking friendly competition because it does my head in. What I have noticed about the League Cup this season and last is all our players were 100%. And yet, in the past, it's never the case because it's all fucked up. What I've also noticed, the League Cup, as you can see, took place on the 13th of July there. Now, I'm guessing that's because we didn't have any major competition. Because last season, there you see... It took place at the end of July, early August. And that's probably because we had a major competition. It's, how long before that gets fucked as well? And let me remind you, I spoke to Mike Evangelo about his game. When a competition gets fucked, like the World Club Cup that I just shown you, it's never going to recover. I don't believe it'll ever recover. So if ever you have a competition get fucked up, and that includes domestic leagues, because I think Mike Evangelo has it with the Spanish league, once it's fucked, I think there's no turning back. And if you've got other leagues open, then great. But if it's your only league, then that's the end of your save. But I think Matt, he's going to make an assault on the title. He's got to, I think. I think this is the right thing. He's taken long contracts. He's very, very healthy over here. The only player that's 05 is Pacheco, who I don't think is going to be too fussed about him. Over to me. So... we didn't actually spend too much. Let's start with Diego Ely Klein. We paid 10 million. Not the greatest player in the world. Somebody said to me on the forums that maybe the reason I can only offer 34 grand is because I'm not filling up my stadium. I don't think it's that, to be honest with you. I don't think it's that at all. Because, I mean, Dortmund do have the biggest stadium in the world of 150,000. So it'd be interesting to see. It could be that. I don't think it is, because we're not filling it up. We only fill it up when we play Bayern Munich, in all honesty. Renzo Mercucci. Can you venture a guess who that is? There is a plan of action. That is Maldini. And I've put him in my resis with a plan to hopefully get a bit further through with him. Hopefully he can develop. 10-year deal for him. Peter Olsen. A nice, solid winger. He's got all the right attributes for me, for what I desire on the wing. Rob van Stryen. Now that could be Robben. I've already got somebody that could be Robben. I'll show you him in a minute, but that could be Robben. Looks quite solid. Chris Roberts. He is a punt. He really is a punt, because who could that be? And I was tracking him, and he actually got released by Charlton. He's in my resis, so I've taken a big risk on my transfer allocation this season. Who could that be? Could that be Lee Hendry? Because I already have what I feel is Lee Hendry. Who knows? Goran Juric, another punt. Got into the resis. So I've taken big punts. And finally, Simon Weaver. Paul Scholes, I believe that is. And he's gone into the resis as well. So I haven't made any marquee signings, it's fair to say. And my contracts are all up to date. Let me show you. So Mark Howard, I believe that is Lee Hendry. I can't remember if Lee Hendry has a preferred foot of left or either. Whichever, one of them is definitely Lee Hendry. But Gary Howard, did I say Mark Howard there? Gary Howard did really well for me. I did change last season tactics. I went to my middleman formation. Was I on that against Matt? Let me just see. I didn't think I was, to be honest with you. Oh, maybe I was. Yeah, maybe I was. So I'm actually on the original middleman formation. Let me just check what I played in my Champions League, my cup final against Matt. Yeah, maybe I did. I couldn't remember, but we had to do something, I think. And as a result of that, I've offloaded a lot of my fullbacks. More about that in a moment. And Franz de Boer is the other guy that could well be Robben. Okay, one of them's definitely Robben. I think there's actually 3 or 4 players that are Dutch, attack midfielder, forward, left, centre. So we had a bit of a clear out, it's fair to say, last season. We got rid of the Boomer regen. Yes, I could have kept him for another season. I can deal with a player getting red cards if they've got a high aggression because they perform. But this Boomer regen was getting on my nerves, and he kept getting injured as well. And as you can see, he's got an injury prone of 10. It was always a bit of a risk. I don't like injury prones of double digits. So we've decided to fuck him off, basically. And as you can see, he has got unhappy already. So he went. The right back, I don't know who he's a regen of, but he was really good for me last season. But because we moved to wingers, it was time to say goodbye. So he went. This was a big one. That is Candela regen. We moved to wingers. We offloaded our fullbacks. He went. And of course, the thing is, we offloaded this guy here. Someone said this was a regen of Carr. We offloaded him because he was causing a few issues. £94 million he went for. And as you can see, we sold 3 players to AC Milan. Crazy, isn't it? John Janssen, an oldish player, he went. Andres Mayes, he went. Miranda, the Costanzo goalkeeper, the Costanzo regen, went. Emperor, the Torino West regen, went. Wagner de Souza, I'm not sure who that is, I forget who that is. He has gone. Roberto Gonzalez has gone. We also, of course, offloaded the Shevchenko regen went. Ibrahimovic regen went. We got rid of the Dwight York regen as well very early last season. So we've had a big influx of ins and outs, well, the outs mostly. Now this was the big thing, right? This was the really big thing. Let me show you my my lineup then. Notice anything? Can you notice anything a little bit weird? And I did this probably for the last 12, 13 games of the season, including the games against Matt. Big risk, and that is Jesus Moran, who I think is Veron Regen, changed nationality. Moran has been playing up top. So, it's fucking bizarre, isn't it? It's absolutely bizarre, and you probably ask yourself why. Well, why not? He's been performing. I mean, let's have a look. He had a good, strong finish towards the end of last season. We've got Mitrofanis, who's now playing. That is Karagunis regen. We've got Bolly. Bolly, of course, is Zidane regen. For some reason, some of his key attributes that shouldn't change have. We have got Barry Hughes in the middle. Joe Cole regen, but I'm probably going to fuck him off from starting. We've made a few changes, of course, in our resis. We have moved Lambert, which, of course, he did actually do well for me last season. But we've moved Lambert into the resis. That is either Vieira or Decor. I think, again, another one that the three key attributes have changed. I know that Vieira or Decor are not Balance, Bravery, Flair 2020, but he is, so I don't know, who knows. So let me show you, we've got Bernardo, who we bought last season. Bernardo was my a young striker, and he's fucking brilliant. But we're not using strikers, are we, at the minute? We're using Moran up top. So we've got Mark Hearn, who I think is Shearer, and another Brazilian striker who escapes me. You know, it's interesting, isn't it? It really is. Miguelito, I was talking about I can deal with a player getting red cards, and I can, just not injuries as well. Now, Miguelito is a good example here. He's had 2 games this season, and luckily he has not got any red cards yet. But last season, you may recall him, last season you had 16 yellows, 1 red, 21 yellows, 1 red season before, 13 yellows season before, 9 yellows, 1 red over there. There was 1 red. Yeah, that was the one. 12 yellows, 3 reds over there. And in his first season, yeah, so he's a bit of a bad boy, but he's very, very prolific. And, you know, you can't grumble at that. You really cannot. Alfredson, he looks like he's developing well. Didn't have a very good breakthrough season for me last campaign, but I've agreed to retain him. Diaz, I don't know who Diaz is, but we've also got, of course, Gutierrez, which I think is Montero regen. Let me remind you of my 3 goalkeepers, or main 2. We've got Springer, which is Oliver Kahn regen. We've got Marini, which is Buffon regen, who does have a little bit more of an injury prone. And we have actually got a 3rd choice goalkeeper, which is Garner, who I'm not sure who he is. Could be Seaman. I think Matt could have Seaman. There's a few decent English goalkeepers going about, but I'm not going to name Garner in my Champions League because we've got a young goalkeeper over here. He's only a youth. He won't need to be named, so it'll give me an extra space to use on my Champions League setup. That's my method. If my goalkeeper gets injured, then it's a risk. If both my goalies get injured, then it's a risk I take. So if we look at the ages, what we've got players-wise, we've got 12, 13, 14, 28 players there. So 3 of those are going to miss out, and it would be 4 if I had a 3rd goalkeeper. 3 of those are going to miss out. Not sure who it's going to be. It's certainly not going to be any of the goalkeepers. It's likely to be a 1 defender I think will miss out. I think there's no doubt about that. It'll probably be White, to be honest with you. 1 attacking midfielder will possibly miss out, and I think will also miss out as well. Attacking midfielder, we've gone to town with the right wing, so it's probably going to be Vergusen maybe. Vergusen. Yeah, I think it probably will be Vergusen, to be honest with you. Yeah, okay. And, of course, let me remind you, if, worst case, I could even choose 2 defenders, because worst case scenario, I could go to the resis and get my Maldini regen and bring him through, because he's only 17. He ain't going to need to be named in the Champions League for another 2 years. So, you know, this season and next season, he's good to go. Juric ain't going to need to be named this season either. So I think logically, I've just answered my own question there, haven't I? It's got to be defenders this season anyway. Lambert, yeah, I mean, he ain't gonna. I don't. The DMCs, it's a bit of a risk really, because I've still got, let me remind you, we've got the Edgar Davids region over there. I'm not sure who the Argentine is, but he's very, Ojeda is very, very prolific. So, sorry that I've prioritised sort of going in depth on my own squad, but I can relate to my own squad what my plan of action is. I can't relate on Matt's. I'm not sure Matt's agenda is, I mean, the title has to be his objective. I mean, for me, we are now in our 7th season with Dortmund. We took over roughly 7 seasons ago. 6 seasons ago we took over in September, and we've won 6 titles. Of course, the last 2 have been crucial. For me personally, the last one was crucial because Matt would have been expecting to have been made... I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, he's still a work in progress. Now, how long can you say that? That's why, you know, he knows he needs to make a change, and he will. There's no doubt. I mean, I can't get to the graph, can I? What could bite me on the arse is my signings. They're not worldies. They're not worldies at all. Let me just show you something now. We were talking about the... I mean, there you see, 151,000 turned up. I don't quite know what the League Cup final is at my ground, by the way. If anyone can shed any light into that. It's 151,000, because that was at home. The neutral ground against Hanover, where was that? Right, that weren't us, but 100 and... Right, okay, and where did Matt play his semi-final? He played it away. Right, okay. So, we have got, like I say, the biggest, 151,400. So it could be that. Let me just go back quickly then. So when we played in the... Where was the German Cup final held? Berlin. So when we had a home game against Leverkusen, I think we're getting about 70,000. So whoever said it on the forum, I think it's Dermatron, he said maybe it's because I'm not filling up my stadium. And I don't know. I don't think it's that. It looks more like a flaw than something like that, in all honesty. Because I've asked the board for more money and they're saying no. Let me see. So we played Leverkusen. When we played Dortmund in the Champions League semi-final, 115,000. When we played them in the league, 118,000. So even in the big games, I think the cup's different maybe. When we played Napoli over there, let's have a look at Napoli, 80,000. Trying to see when we played anybody, and Bochum was always a big game, 79,000. When I went to Bayern Munich, but then to be honest with you, Matt hasn't had this issue, so I don't think it is, because Matt's stadium is very big as well. That guy there is Matt's, that's when he beat me in the first game. That's his Syrian striker, let him down in the League Cup, but certainly got the goals that Matt desired. He wanted a striker that was going to hit 30 plus, and there you see, absolutely brilliant. So we've all made our signings, and now we're on to the new season, which hopefully will kick off today at some point. And that's it for me, guys. The story continues. Before we disappear, let's have a look now then. If anything looks remotely appealing. Nope. I think it's fair to say I won't return to Germany once I leave. I will not return to Brazil. Because Brazil, I've had the longevity game over there, and it's difficult really. I should say though, as Matt was having a bit of a tough time, he was offered a job on the 30th of January. I don't think he applied either. He considered applying, and of course the date was massive because it was AC Milan. Now, I know how Matt works. When things are going wrong, almost sort of like, oh, fuck this shit, you know. And I think if he was a little bit before the 30th, he'd have taken it. But because it was the 30th of January, he'd have had one day to get 7 signings in. With it being Italy, Italy's window closes on the 31st and reopens in July, so the next window. And I think that was crucial. Now, it's funny because, as I said to you about AC Milan, have spent, I don't know what AI I've got anymore, because they spent an absolute fortune from me, and they're still rich. So they're still rich, and they've obviously brought a player from Roma as well. So they've spent well. They've spent really, really well. And it's an interesting one because they've not won the title. Fuck you. 23 years? Am I reading that? Let me just... 23 years they've not won the title. Inter, so Napoli are secure, Inter are rich, and Roma are rich. Well, who knows? Who knows? Till next time from me, guys. Take it easy.